Hey, what's up everyone, and we are back with issue 7, and a lot of people die in this issue, so get ready. So this picks up on Cybertron, which, yeah, awesome. We finally get to see some more Cybertron action, and we see a fire squad of Huffer, Cup, Warpath, and being led by Elita 1. And this team's really cool, you know, except for Huffer, because, I mean, Huffer sucks. But anyways, this fire squad is essentially trying to get inside a fortress for their mission, and they are overran and outmatched very easily as they are ambushed by one of the groups of these Decepticons we see are actually, in fact, the Combaticons, which is really cool to see. But they are trying to run inside this fortress, and they're just being overran by just all the fire, and Huffer ends up using all of his energy to put up a shield, tries to be useful by using a shield, but easily gets, you know, over encumbered by, you know, the firing and stuff, and dies. And I mean, whatever, it's Huffer sucks. But bot by bot in this squad, they are getting packed up really easily by the Decepticons, and unfortunately Warpath dies, and unfortunately Cup dies, which really sucks, but not surprising considering one of the alt covers for, oh man, I want to say issue 9 has Shockwave on it, and we see a head of Cup, so kind of figured he was gonna die. But anyways, before he dies, he tells Elita to go in the building and save him and save all of us, which then we see Cup get shot in the head and unfortunately dies. But then Elita does end up going inside the building, and we see her looking around in this fortress area, and it's very just empty and barren. She goes around asking like, hello, is anyone here? Which then she goes to the other room and sees a fellow Autobot, which seems to look like it's literally been skinned alive, which is brutal. And who that robot is, we are going to find out later in a bit. Which then we pick up on the POV of the Decepticons on Earth that are alive. And man, this gets really good. So Soundwave basically has gathered all the Decepticons that were, you know, on Earth and alive from the, you know, from the beginning in the attack, you know, the Constructicons, the Cassettes, Thundercracker, and he's basically bringing a mutiny against Starscream, which is really cool because Starscream he sucked as a leader. And Soundwave just seems way more capable of a leader, and Soundwave brings that up, basically saying how they have been beaten by barely functioning Autobots since they've come to Earth. They've been beaten by humans. Is this how we are as Decepticons? Is this who we are? And says we should be conquerors. Rumble brings up that I know who would make it right, Megatron, and once again Starscream punches another cassette, and so Soundwave basically gives Starscream a choice. Either take this beating and step down, or take this beating and I'm going to keep beating you until your spark is gone. Which Starscream doesn't want to take this deal at all, and as Starscream is squirming, saying how he's lying and that he can bring the Decepticons back to glory, no one believes a single word Starscream says, and so this fight ensues. And I mean, like, yeah, Starscream puts up some of a fight here, but Soundwave just kicks the living crap out of him, dude. I mean, Starscream responds with, like, what about, you know, co-leadership, you know, Soundwave, we can still make this right, time to, you know, all this, and Soundwave says, no, the time for talk is done. And the thrashing just continues, man. Soundwave just keeps pummeling Starscream and gives him a chance to yield, but Starscream doesn't, and so Soundwave gets shot by Starscream, so then Soundwave ends up headbutting Starscream, and then he sends out Laserbeak, and Laserbeak rips out one of Starscream's eyes, and Starscream's like, oh, that's cheating. And this is just brutal, man. But somehow Starscream gets up and says basically, you know, I'm willing to forgive you, Soundwave, you know, you can be put on the right path. But Soundwave already made his choice, and he walks up to Starscream and says, you kicked my Ravage, and he just rips out Starscream's spark and throws him off a cliff, essentially killing off Starscream, which is nuts, dude. I love this. I love that Starscream got what was coming to him. Soundwave goes to the other Decepticons and says that this component will help heal Ravage, but I will not just heal my own. We will rebuild together. We will conquer together. We will destroy together. Are you with me, brothers? And so all the Decepticons take a knee and start chanting Soundwave, which is amazing, dude. Soundwave is now the leader of the Decepticons, which this is amazing, man. I believe this isn't the first time Soundwave was the leader of the Decepticons. I believe he was in the Marvel comics, but I still gotta go read those, to be honest, so I could be wrong. But we transition to Carly shooting a rifle, and we have RC interrupt Carly, basically just, you know, trying to form a friendship, trying to get a conversation going. And so these two start talking, and Carly's, you know, training with this rifle and shooting bottles at them, and RC asks if she could join, and RC just ends up blowing up the whole like training area. But RC brings up that Optimus always said that she was the best shot that he's ever seen, and she says that I wish I wasn't so good at it. And Carly is kind of surprised that RC is saying this because she says that it will help killing Decepticons and it will especially help killing Starscream. And RC mentions that she can see Carly's eyes and that they have fire to them and not to let it consume her. She's basically saying that don't let revenge drive you too far off on the deep end. And I mean, I don't even think Carly has had enough time to grieve yet, and that's like pretty crazy. Like, she should be grieving with everything that has happened to her. But Carly tells RC that she doesn't know the first thing about her, and she also calls her RB, which is funny, you know, Arby's. But RC apologizes to Carly and brings up that Carly reminds RC of herself when she was younger, and that her teacher was Ultra Magnus, which, boom, we see the city commander himself, and he looks dope. So RC brings up how Magnus saved RC when she was younger, and that he taught her how to fight and shoot when she was just a wee little bot, and that Magnus taught her everything that she knows now. And at the time, all RC wanted was justice and revenge, and that Ultra Magnus died because of RC's path of hatred and vengeance. And she's telling Carly basically that what I said earlier, that she needs to grieve still, but Carly just shrugs off this whole story and just says, cool story, and like, not really caring, which, okay, I guess. I mean, she just told a story about the city commander, but yeah, okay, alright, whatever. But it does suck that Ultra Magnus is dead, and I'm 99.9% sure that the bot we saw at the beginning with Alita 1 is Ultra Magnus. It looks like the same size and everything, so I'm pretty sure it's him. However, I could be wrong, but they do look similar, and it sucks that our boy was skinned alive. But we do see Cliffjumper and Jazz speaking with each other, and that Cliffjumper says that, you know, he feels sorry, he feels weak that he couldn't pull the trigger to kill Starscream, and that Carly hasn't spoken to him since all of that went down. And Jazz, being the goat he is, comforts Cliffjumper, saying there is no shame not pulling a trigger, even in war. And Cliffjumper feels really awful about everything that happened, and Jazz tells him, well, to make you feel better, Optimus is having the same problem, which then we shift to Optimus talking to Spike, who I'm guessing has just been told or has been told about everything with Sparky and him sacrificing himself, and Optimus trying to speak to him, and Spike just says, I know it's not your fault, I just need time. And so Optimus and Ratchet do give Spike some space, and they are driving, and Ratchet brings up that Sparky did was his choice, and Optimus says that there is no way to explain that to Spike, and that Spike is too young to lose his family. And Optimus blames himself for all this, and that he has to make it up to Spike. But in a flash, Optimus sees a vision of some sorts of him holding what looks to be Spike when he was a baby, and Optimus ends up crashing in a tree, and Ratchet takes him back to the Ark. And this is really interesting, as Optimus sees a vision of Spike as a baby. Now, why would he see that? It seems like they are really tweaking and changing what the Matrix actually does, and it looks like Sparky's memories with Optimus are starting to merge, or simply Optimus has all the memories of Sparky, and it does feel like they're playing this fast and loose here. And I am curious to see how they progress this further. And it isn't necessarily a huge change with the Matrix, as the Matrix is an artifact, you know, that has wisdom, history, and strength. And those who are Prime wield the Matrix. And, you know, like I said, everything with the wisdom and history. But maybe they could be mingling around with Sparky's soul now with the Matrix, and now it's kind of merged together with the Matrix and Optimus himself, and that's why he's saying this, and they're just kind of merged together now from, you know, the history. I don't know. I might be reading too much into this here, but it is pretty cool that they're changing this. But we do go back to the Ark, and we see the Goat and RC and Wheeljack trying to get Teletran 1 back up and running for repairs. But since Decepticons essentially merged Skywarp with Teletran 1, Skywarp won't give access to Wheeljack, and he will have to resort to repairing everyone manually, and that takes a lot longer, and that he'll have to figure out a workaround for the time being when it comes to repairs. And Optimus walks in and tells Wheeljack to make haste, and says, we have the upper hand, but make no mistake, our initiative will not last long as the Decepticons reigns freely over this beautiful Earth. And man, these comics really do just have Optimus say the most amazing things. But Wheeljack says, if that's the case, we'll need a way to find the Decepticons and get a bird's eye view. And Optimus walks into a storage room of sorts of dead bots and parts, which shows parts of Jetfire's body, and says, I have a plan for that, and tells Decepticons to steel themselves, and says, we are coming for you. And that's where this ends, man. And dude, issue 7 really hits. I really am a fan of this new arc, but I will say, just like at the beginning, there was a lot of deaths in this issue. And honestly, I'm kind of torn on this because on one hand, it shows that this story by Daniel Warren Johnson, that it does show you how many casualties there actually are when it comes to war. And we see all these deaths that are happening. But on the other hand, we have classic characters just being killed off left and right. I don't know. I'm just kind of torn on it. Like with Ultra Magnus, that is a big deal that he's dead, but I really hope that he isn't dead. And this is one of those versions of the character where Ultra Magnus has the Magnus armor and he's escaped and he's just a white Prime now running around. which would be really cool. But I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on this issue and the new story arc. Leave a like on this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We will be covering Void Rival soon, I promise. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.